Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens, and we have our good buddy back. You want to introduce yourself again, Nick?
Hey, thanks, Rob. Nick DiStefano. I'm, I guess, a recurring guest now.
Recurring guest, I like
something along that line.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what. We know you're going to bring value every time you come on the show, so why not have you on? And Nick, I'm excited because we've been doing something that was called the Foundations of Leadership. That's kind of our first series of shows, and Foundations of Leadership. We've talked about things that can help you if you are a person in a business, if you're leading a team, heck, if you're not leading a team and you're leading yourself. We want to give you some tips for how you can get better. And today we're going to talk about something I think is very real, Nick, and what it is it's something called imposter syndrome. Now, we talked about this on the last show briefly, but today we're actually going to talk about how to overcome imposter syndrome. Just to set the stage for that, of course, what are we talking about here? It doesn't mean you're an actual imposter and that you therefore have a syndrome, right?
Absolutely.
This isn't as ugly as it sounds, but it is that feeling, that immense feeling that you have when you're in a leadership position that you feel like, I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be here. I'm saying one thing, but I'm feeling another thing. And it is something that is very real to a lot of leaders. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just the idea that you're not enough, or that you don't belong, or that you are not as good as, or as worthy of being in the room. I like to think sometimes people sit around in different meetings or experiences and go, I don't belong in here. You kind of look around like, wait a minute, am I supposed to? Is this right? Like, am I supposed to be doing this podcast with you? Like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, am I good enough to be here?
But let me say this though. Here's the interesting part about it. And for anybody who's at home or listening at work or wherever you are, and you're hearing what we're saying, I want you to know, if you've ever felt like that, it means something good about you. It means something good that you feel like that. And here's why. Because number one, you have ascended to a level that you are actually even in that discussion of, should I be in this room? So first of all, give yourself a round of applause for that. But number two is, it means that you're a great leader.
Yeah,
and you know why I think that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I have enough self-reflection to go, should I be here? I think that's the best leaders you're going to find. I don't want a blind leader who thinks they're the best thing in the world.
No, there's a level of humility and a level of awareness. And we talked about that in the last episode, about you have to be aware of yourself and where you might have flaws and opportunities to improve. And if you sit there and think, I'm the smartest person, I'm the best person in the room, right? Tony Robbins says, as soon as you find that you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room.
Right.
And it is okay to have imposter syndrome. In fact, just a overall framework that I think about when it comes to imposter syndrome, and I heard this from one of my favorite authors, Seth Godin, wonderful author. Highly suggest anyone listening go look at any of his books. They're fantastic, or sign up for his newsletters. But I heard him speak in 2019, and I'll never forget what he said about imposter syndrome. He said, if you think you're an imposter, good for you. Just like you, he said that. And he said, I say good for you because everyone is an imposter. Nobody is, and if you recognize this in yourself, like it's leadership. You recognize it, like, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And you know what? If you're in the room, you know how many other people are sitting there thinking, I'm an imposter, I can't do this, or I'm not sure about. Everyone has these thoughts if they're in that type of a leadership setting. If you think you're a leader, you also are an imposter. And that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get you. Jordan Peterson, he's talked a little bit about how, sometimes the things that have gone around in your own head, and you're like, oh boy, I have to contend with these things that are going on in my head. But the fact of the matter is it's great to do a show like this because I want people to know just how normal it is in a leadership position to feel away. And the way that it usually manifests itself in me. Now, I've always been a guy since I was growing up that I felt like if anybody can do it, I can do it. Yeah. I've always felt like that, and it comes down to, if I see somebody that's out there and they've learned how to fix their computer in a certain way, I'm like, if they could do it, I can learn how to do it. And I've always felt strong like that. My imposter syndrome usually comes up when I'm in front of a room telling them, don't let that get you down. You can do it. You can. And then sometimes you're having the worst day ever when you're about to go talk to a group. Yeah. And then you're going, man, I don't even feel like that right now. And I got to tell everybody to feel like that. Right. But this is my point. To my dear friends listening today, here's my point. that's a natural part of life. You're going to go through ups and downs. And just because you're feeling inside doesn't mean you're not going to conquer that tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You're going to conquer it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So today, just because you're down in the dumps doesn't mean you have to get up on stage and go, you know what, guys, I was going to come up here and tell you a bunch of motivational stuff, but I decided I'm having a rough day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So part of that imposter syndrome is realizing that a better day may be ahead tomorrow, in my opinion.
Well, and a better day is going to be ahead because yesterday might have been a worse day, or in the past you might have had the days where you've overcome it, right? Like we talk about, life is these ups and downs, and you don't have the ups without the downs. You can't be an imposter if you're also not a leader. Like you have to be both, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I think it's okay to admit it too. Now, I'm not saying you should get up in front of the group and say, "Oh man, I'm really struggling.
I really suck.
But I'm awful," right? We're not going to be self-deprecating, but I also think we can own, like, hey, I struggle with this piece of it.
Yeah.
Because that also, I think, a piece of overcoming imposter syndrome is recognizing that everybody deals with it in some way. So if I own it and I don't pretend like, you know what, everything's great, I've got this, you know, it's okay to say, I'm struggling with this too. Like, you're not alone. That's okay.
Well, I'll let you into my world a little bit. There have been times where I felt like, the best support I ever got was when I was going through something hard. Okay. If people don't perceive that you have something hard going on, sometimes they're like, well, this guy's got it all figured out. He's fine. When you're going through something tough, something that's just crushing your soul, and people can hear that, you're not going to fake your way through it, but you're going to let it be known.
Sure.
People are more supportive than ever. It can be very uplifting to the soul. And so part of that leadership side is there's a balance. You have to be strong enough that people don't feel like the world is burning down when it's going down. So you have to be strong.
Both.
But you also have to be forthcoming and say, look, here's a challenge, because people don't look. Here's the thing. I've listened to a lot of speakers over my time. Nobody likes to hear somebody get up on stage and just hear them bragging for an hour straight. They want to hear about the challenge, the overcoming of that challenge.
Yeah. And then also, and then what's in it for me too, right? Like, can I relate to what you're saying? Can I do the same thing? Like, we're not going to sit here and pretend like the two of us, have all the answers. We have our own experiences and times when we've overcome imposter syndrome, and we can talk about how to do that. But we're just like anybody else listening. We've got it too, and that's okay.
Well, the biggest thing that when we talk about overcoming imposter syndrome, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Let's give some pro tips for somebody who's trying to overcome it. And I think there within is my first thing. I would say if you're trying to overcome it, the first thing is realize that I don't know that you'll ever completely overcome it. It's a healthy part of your self-awareness. And we talked about self-awareness at one point, but I'll double down on it. I'm going to say this. The people who lack self-awareness tend to lack growth, because when you are not aware of some of your potential shortcomings, it's hard to grow from them if you're not even aware of them.
Yeah.
And so part of great leadership is to say, hey, look, where can we improve? Where can I make that 1% Kaizen, right? I believe that's
absolutely.
How can I make that 1% improvement and get better every day? So I would say if you have it, the thing is I'm going to use a movie line here, and I think it came from Rocky, but he said something to the effect of, it may not even be from Rocky, but you'll feel where I'm going. It said the whole thing about fear is harness the fear.
Yes,
you can't get rid of the fear, but harness it and make it into something. And what I'm going to say is it's the same thing with this imposter syndrome. I'm not saying you're ever going to get rid of it, but learn how to harness it. Okay, that's my tip.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on, right? It's like, let's just accept it and use it for good, right?
Yeah.
I say fear is an opportunity to be brave. Imposter syndrome is just your chance to, step forward and step into your leadership potential. So my first tip I would tell anybody, and it goes a little bit to what you're saying, Rob, is, you have to be aware, but you need to be aware of your strengths. And you need to be able to, we say this I do a lot of work in coaching and training around Clifton strengths and, being aware of your natural talents. But I say people need to be able to name it, aim it, and claim it. So you need to be able to name what you're good at. You need to be able to then think about, how can I use that? Right? When have I used it in the past? And then how am I going to use it moving forward? Because it's in this moment I'm feeling like I don't belong, but I know that I've felt this in the past and I've overcome it. So if I know and I'm aware of what I do well, I should lean into that. Now, I'm not saying, when you're sitting in a one-on-one meeting and it's, tense and you're feeling like I don't belong here and I can't have this tough conversation with your employee. If you know you're really good at speaking in front of other people, that you should stand up and start talking to them. But you know that you can adjust if you're good at public speaking. You know that you can, connect with people. How do I lean into that and say, I know I'm good at this stuff. So how do I use that here? I don't have to fix everything or do everything or totally belong, but I belong here because I have things that I'm good at, because I'm naturally talented in things, and you got to know that.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'll go into this then, and we actually don't pre-rehearse what we're going to say, so sometimes we might be like talking.
Here we go.
But so I'm going to use a different one, and I'm going to go to this route. I'm going to say to use the old phrase, "This too shall pass." And the thing I would tell you is, when you find yourself in that moment where that you're finding that you may be feeling like, wow, I don't know if I belong here, I would suggest to you that you have some sort of a mental imagery that you have that could help you get back in your zone. And I'll explain it like this. This actually isn't tied to imposter syndrome, but I've had this thing I've done for years. This is a little bit about getting to know Rob.
All right.
But when I was growing up, Michael Jordan was in his prime.
Sure.
Okay, actually, his prime was a little bit when I was a little young for it, but he was in his prime in that time frame, and so certainly. I was not necessarily a Michael Jordan fan, but I saw him as the standard of that guy who was going to get it done every time.
Absolutely.
And so anytime I've been in my life and I've been at a point where I felt like I was emotionally maybe overwhelmed, like, you're trying to give a speech and something touches you and you're like, hold on.
Oh, God.
I thought of Michael Jordan hitting a game-winning shot at the end. That imagery was always something to ground me. And for you, it may not be a basketball player. I love basketball, so it may not be basketball. Sure. But think of something that's moved you, a pillar of strength. Visualize it, and that will help you get through that moment, because tomorrow will be a better day.
Yeah. You can even visualize too, if it's not like a pillar of strength, you can visualize your purpose or your why. If I know that the reason I'm doing this and the reason I've worked so hard to get in this room is because I want to, provide this for my family, well, then I'm going to think about what is it that I need to, envision, and I remember them. Or maybe it's, I just look at my lock screen on my phone and it's like it's got my family on it, and that just grounds me in the moment. Like, I'm here because I'm here for them.
Yeah,
right?
Have your target.
It's funny. My second tip is very similar to that. I call my second tip, and I would suggest everybody create one of these, whether it's digitally, physical, but I call it my smile file. And I know that sounds cheesy, but I guarantee if you're in this room at some point in your life, wherever you're at in your career, even if you're thinking, I don't belong here, and you're a mom listening to this, and you're not in a room, and you're in another room with new parents, and you're like, I don't know any of these people, I feel awkward, I don't belong here, right? A smile file is really just a physical or digital space where you're keeping all the things that have brought you smiles over the years. Okay. So for me, it's things like thank you notes. It's different quotes that I've collected. It is pictures of my former team. It's got pictures of my kids, and it's got artwork that my kids have done that I'm like, all right, so I have this, and it's like, I don't have to always have it in front of me, but when I'm feeling like I don't belong here, I can go back and think, okay, I've kind of got this like physical or digital space where I can think about all these things that have I know that I've made an impact on all these people. And as you grow in your career, you get, different thank you notes and different things that you remember. And I'm like, you know what, this is really cool. It actually, it comes from, the idea comes from David Goggins and his, idea. He calls it your mental cookie jar. Okay. It's like when you have this tough moment, reach into your cookie jar and think about all the times you've overcome the tough things in your life. Well, sitting in a boardroom and having imposter syndrome doesn't necessarily feel the same as running a marathon. It could, depending on how uncomfortable you are. Yeah. But it's just the idea that you are in this room because you've made an impact at some point in your life, and
sounds good.
Remember that. Have something that you can look back at.
Well, so your smile file, I've never thought about this before. Smile file is good. You could also have your frown file.
Absolutely.
And let me explain the frown file that I just came up with while you were talking about your smile file. When you see something that is somebody who is doing something against their best self-interest, when you see somebody doing something that I call mental sabotage, that is a frown file. And remember what you don't want to be. As much as you remember what motivates you, remember what you don't want to be. And I can tell you this, life will provide you a lot of opportunities for your own improvement. But I have something I do with my guys at work. And I swear I do this in my meetings. I don't just say this, I practice what I preach. In our meetings, I'll say, think about the last time you had a really bad customer service experience. And my guys will say, and they'll actually give me an example. And I'll say, so when that happened, how did you feel? And they're feeling away about it. And I say, we've got to be better than that. It's that simple. We have to be better than that. So every time that you're in that imposter syndrome and you're thinking like, hey, I'm about to give a worse version of myself. I mean, honestly, if you're getting overtaken by this, you're about to give a worse version. Think about that thing that you don't want to be and go the opposite direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think too, you probably also have in that same, vein, you have also the opportunities where you have you've had the bad experiences, or even yourself, like I've done this poorly, and you think I don't want to do this again, right?
Right.
So even if it's not bad experiences you've had elsewhere, it could be, the last time I did this is what I did, and was it really that bad? We ask ourselves like, what happens if I say this? Like, what if it goes wrong? What if you reframe it? And I think that's key, right? What if it goes right?
Yeah.
What if I say it and it goes really well? What if, why do we question ourselves in terms of like, then that's an imposter syndrome, like, 101 feeling that so many people have, like, what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I make a fool of myself? What if it goes right?
But now I'm going to finally counter us.
Yeah, sure.
Okay? The point of the show is like, sometimes I don't want to get on and like, we're on this positive tangent, but let's be real.
Other.
Yeah. Everything's great. No, let me be real with you. I'm going to tell you why. I think this actually happens. Yeah. Okay. It's not just that you're a success. It's not just that this is natural and normal, and it is, and it probably is. No, what I'm actually going to say is, when you see this happening, Nick, I do believe that you need to get better. All right. Now I'm going to go a little mean. I'm going to go a little hard right now. I'm going to go what Goggins would say. You brought up David Goggins, so I'm going to go
Who's
Goggins
carry
on
the
you.
Boats?
Well, yeah. And what I'm going to say is. Okay, we've heard of this before. When you're about to go give a public speaking, and I've talked to a lot of people about public speaking. I do a lot of it. Yeah. I do it so much I don't worry about it when I do it. But I meet a lot of people, and I've had many people say, my thing is, I'm okay if I'm speaking about something I know a lot about. If I am not, I do not feel comfortable.
Sure.
And so here's what it comes down to, Nick. It is the fear of being exposed because you have internal flaws potentially that you are fearing in your game. And so now let me say this now, and I've got to put the dark side of it, but what I'm saying is if I'm in imposter syndrome, all right, if I'm saying I'm having that right now we did the feel good side. Hey, it could be because you're an overachiever, you're self-aware, you know where there's holes in your game, but I'm going to say get better, get stronger. If I'm worried because, hey, look, I'm in this room full of people and this guy over here, he's got 20 pages of notes, and this person over here, this lady over here, she's saying some of the most eloquent stuff I've ever heard, and I've got nothing to contribute. Well, that could be in your own head, but it could also be a sign, my good friends, that it's time for you to up your game. Work a little harder, prep a little harder. And you said it yourself a minute ago. You said, look, there could be something that you actually just you need to get a little better at,
Yep. But I would also go back to what you said earlier too, and that like one of your first tips was we're constantly we're learning and we're growing. You're here because you've done this. So I would say, and I think that ties really well, because I don't disagree with that. You should get better, but you should also give yourself grace too. And that's my third tip. I would say is there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know how to do this thing that these other people in the room know yet. Right? Yeah. I'm not sure about this concept, or I don't know, sometimes you're sitting around and you're like, oh God, I have to Google what these people are saying. Like they use this acronym or they said this thing. I'm like, financial. I'm like, what are we talking about, y'all?
But dude,
you have an opportunity to learn about it. I would just say be kind to yourself. Like,
I'm understanding an identity, man. I hate to cut you off. I'm understanding an identity of where we're headed. I'm going to play the Jocko role, and you're going to play the Tony Robbins role. From now on, we're going to go. I'm going to go hard, and you're going to go. No. I understand what you're saying. Let me put this in a context. We've been talking about the individual a lot, but I want to say that this, for you business owners out there, okay, for you people who, and usually I use sports teams and I use business owners because they're easy for me. If you're in a military unit and you're comparing yourself to another military unit, whatever it is, sometimes I personalize this, but this can take the entity of an organization. Sometimes you feel like your whole organization could be an imposter. Hey, we're not as good as these other guys. We're not. And if you take all these things, really they all tie together. Even though I took a negative approach a minute ago and I said, maybe you're not good enough. And your awareness says that, okay, I recognize that there's some feeling. I understand it will pass if it's something. Sure. But there has to be that healthy dialogue in your head to say, I can get better. Let me share a story with you, if you don't mind, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a saying at every company that I go to, but my current company, which you can tell I'm wearing some of the garb today, no surprise, but I tell people to work at this company, you must have 3 traits. Now, I understand you're going to make an error, you're going to make a bad judgment call once in a while, but if you have these 3 traits, you can hang around here. You have to have pep, you have to have professionalism, you have to have enthusiasm, and you have to have positivity. Now, professionalism, I'm on time, I dress the part, I talk the part. Enthusiasm, I am enjoying what I do. I appear to enjoy what I do. I exude that, to my customers. And I am positive in the sense of I believe that things will be up. If we do the right thing, things will be up. And it's a cousin of enthusiasm. Now let me share why I'm telling you that right now. I had a guy one time call me on the phone. He's having a really hard day, and he says, and he was talking to me as his leader, saying, "I'm feeling exhausted. I had some things happen." And at the end of that, he said, "And I want to apologize because I know I'm not being very positive in that right now." And I said, "No, my friend. You've misunderstood positivity. You've misunderstood positivity because in my terminology, I'm not saying positive means we just pretend everything's great all the time, right? Yeah, I just got in a car accident, and this is great." No. You acknowledge when things are maybe not going your way, but positivity means tomorrow can be better. That is all it means to me. So if you come in today, you get your teeth kicked in, you come back tomorrow and say, I can do better today. So with that, this is kind of how I'm putting on, and we're talking about imposter syndrome. Where does that fit in? It fits in everywhere. Because if you believe that you don't belong, you believe that you're not in the room, you shouldn't be in the room, I'm telling you, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I don't disagree with that at all, And when we're talking about positivity, I tell people all the time, you can't be positive if you can't also embrace the suck. Like if you're, to think about like a Jocko or like, that type of mentality of like, it truly is like, there is a massive, and it's a wonderful book by Jocko, there's a massive dichotomy of leadership. Like you can't have the positivity without also embracing the reality of the fact that like some days are going to suck and some moments are going to suck. Like it's not always going to be like that, but it's the same thing with imposter syndrome. You're not going to walk around your life feeling like this all the time. Well, you feel it in that moment, and you have to harness it, you have to overcome it, and you have to ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this? I think that's a massive piece of leadership, and that's what you've signed up to do. If you're listening to us right now, you're someone that wants to grow and be better, and are hopefully taking things from this to not just like sit down and take notes from us, but like get out of here and like turn the phone off and get out of here and not just take the notes, but take action. Do something with it.
And I agree, and I think that at the end of it, I'm going to put a bow on all this because I think we've kind of hit the high points. The bow is going to be this. Look, if you don't ever experience imposter syndrome, I'm going to suggest to you, take a harder look at yourself. And this is going to be the most ironic thing I'm saying to the whole thing, because our whole thing was about overcoming it. But I think we should have said we're harnessing it. Because if you are going into every meeting and you feel like you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you're killing it, you're better than everybody else, there's a pretty good chance you're missing some things that you should be paying attention to.
Look in the mirror.
Right, exactly. And that's the first part of it is I want to get better every day. And if I go into every room and I think I'm I'm the best, smartest, whatever room. To go back to what you said a minute ago, find another room if you think you're there.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be doing. So, hey, before we go, Nick, great topics for today. We had a tough couple of weeks, not me and you. I'm saying this country's had a tough couple of weeks. We had a tragedy that happened last week with the Charlie Kirk situation. I don't care what political affiliation you have. I don't care if you liked him or not. Yeah. That was a tragedy. Yeah. This is not how it goes. Yeah. And the thing I'd like to say as we go into it really doesn't necessarily tie into this, but I'm going to say, the way we react to things, the way that we express ourselves and then we react shows a lot about who we are, and no matter what happens, I believe that we all have to get better all the time. We have to learn from things. And so to you out there who that hit a lot of people hard, and I got to tell you that, I'm not going deep into it on this show, but I want to say in my scope of life, I'd say that we got to be better.
Absolutely.
That's what I took from that. We got to be better as a population.
Everyone has an opportunity to be more understanding, to be kinder, to be more just willing to grow.
Yeah.
Like just remember, and sit down, and it's a massive piece of leadership, but we're humans, right? And let's connect with each other as humans. If we want to be less divided and more united, it's not going to happen if we can't see people as people. And that is wow. We're not there right now. It's we are in two chairs as a country, turned away from each other until people actually decide, I'm going to turn my chair around and actually see that this person over here is a person. Yeah. We're going to continue to just keep going down the same road. But the thing is, you said it, right? We can all be better. Yeah. Right? And that's what this is about. That's what the show's about. That's what we do.
100.
And, everyone can do that.
I hope coming off of it, look, one of the things that we feel like is an important part of the American dream is that we can have open discussion. We can share our views. When you take somebody and you dehumanize them because of their views to the point that all you see is a giant viewpoint, and you reject the fact that somebody has a heart and a spirit and the things they deserve, maybe you're the problem.
Absolutely.
And so all I can say is I don't want to turn it into a highly, but it was just something I feel like it's important to address as we go through. And I know a lot of people have been hurting about it. Some people maybe didn't care at all, but I would tell you, use that as your linchpin. If that was something that hurt you, if that was something, let's all discuss better. Let's get better together as a group and as a society, and keep peaking for more better things ahead. So, all right. Well, Nick, good job, man. I enjoyed the show again. We'll pick it up on the next one. Yeah. We got a good show next week. I'm going to kind of tease it a little bit. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. How does that look? That's going to be really nice.
It kind of relates a little bit to what you were just saying about we all need to grow.
We all absolute little teaser activity going on. Love it. But anyway, if you're out there, you listen and enjoy the show, we appreciate you being on. Make sure to like and share us on your social media of choice, and we'll see you both on the Leader Mentality Show next time.